I think some of this belongs, this conversation I think is significant because before we get to the other games, I do want to talk about this right here.
Yeah.
Because we had massive fights over this on the show.
Right.
You guys riled and railed against me and said that I don't know what I'm talking about. And should SMU and Boise State have been in the college football playoff? Maybe. Sure. No. Okay. Whatever. This has to get fixed. And the way you fix it is exactly what we've talked about. You can't just hand conference championship teams first round buys. You can't do. Boise State had no business having a first round buy.
Totally agree.
They had no business having a first round buy. And now I don't think it would have mattered because, again, I'm just telling you, Boise State is not. If there was ever, friends, if this was ever truer than this morning, I don't know when it would have been. Penn State just simply had bigger athletes than Boise State. And Ashton Jeanty had some moments in that game. That was the biggest ass kicking I've ever seen that kid take.
Yep.
And if you go back to what we've talked about on the show, which was Ashton Jeanty beat up on a bunch of dudes that had no business being on the same field as him all season long. They didn't play anybody outside of Oregon, which was what, week 2. Then you show up against Penn State after a bye week, and you were never in that game. And we're sitting here talking about Drew Aller, who's an average-ass quarterback any way you slice it. He carved you up.
Yep.
He carved you up, plain and simple. What did I tell you about Indiana? Indiana didn't belong in the college football playoff. But Indiana certainly was more deserving of a first-round bye than Boise State.
Yep.
Right? Like, you look at SMU, and I know, oh, Monty, you just hate SMU. Okay, cool. They got that ass whooped.
Yeah, and I feel like it's not hard to say, hey, BYU would have put in a better performance than SMU did.
But don't open up the can of worms.
Well, but here's the deal though. Like at some point we have to be able to say, like, if we're going to sit here and say that these two teams got exposed, and let's call it 3 teams because I think Indiana got exposed too. At some point we have to say, well, again, they shouldn't have been there. Like at some point it has to be.
But they were. And we can, I think the hard part here is, like, everybody's talking about Alabama, for instance. Do you really think that's the same team that was on the field for their bowl game? Do you really think that's the same team that played November football? Do you think that's the same team that played all year at Alabama? It was clearly not. These big brands losing in meaningless bowl games means nothing. It means nothing. And if you think Travis Hunter's not going to be the number 1 pick in the draft because BYU thumped Colorado, you're out of your mind. These bowl games, while significant, and I understand NIL deals make these kids play, do you really think that somehow, some way Cam Ward should have played all 4 quarters of that game? Come on. When we look at the college football playoff, we can sit here and we can be revisionist in history. I'm not here for that today. Boise and SMU were in. SMU and Boise State should never have been anywhere near the college football playoff. Okay, great. The system's in place. They got in. Boise shouldn't have had a first-round bye. Simple as that. And Penn State shouldn't have gotten the free pass of SMU and Boise State. You have to tweak this.
Yeah, but that's what happens when you put soft teams in.
Yeah, well, you're always going to have a G5 in.
Yeah.
Always. But you can't have multiple G5s in. And again, I think when you look at the bracket and you say to yourself, okay, we can sit here and we can play the game of who belongs in and who doesn't. Right? But you've got to change. You've got to change the early rounds because, folks, these teams right here, outside of Boise State, you're going to get Texas and Ohio State, Penn State, and I think Georgia. But even if it's Notre Dame, did the outcome was it really impacted? Are we going to get probably 4 of the best teams in the country playing for the national championship? We are. Who here is really missing? Oregon, well, Oregon got their ass beat.
Had their chance.
They're in no way, shape, or form one of the 4 best teams in the country.
Yeah.
The college football playoff at the end of the day is going to net us likely the 4 best teams in the country. Does that mean that it should just be left alone? No. What it means is it should be tweaked. It should absolutely be tweaked so that you are ranking the teams 1 through 12. As simple as that. Not, hey, the 4 conference champions, the 4 highest ranked conference champions get a bye. You got to take that. You got to take that component out because that's bad for the on-field product. In no way should Boise State have had a first round bye.
Yeah, I just think that, what my opinion is that Boise State was a hype team. That's what they were. You had one guy who everyone loved and everyone got behind, but you had no business being on the same field as Penn State. And that's what's hard for me is I'm literally sitting here watching this game and I'm like, dude, we're watching a scrimmage right now. You're getting dominated up front on both sides of the football. Drew Aller's carving you up. Ashton Jeanty, the greatest thing we've ever seen in running back country, somehow isn't the greatest thing we've ever seen in running back country when he actually plays P4 opposition. Like, who knew? I know it's rocket science. When you play NFL caliber talent in college football, you're not the same guy. And somehow Cam Skattebo is the same guy. So to me, it's
Cam Skattebo.
I look at it and Scat, the offensive MVP of the losing team, showed you what it really is. And it annoys me so much that Boise State fan and Boise State hater has disappeared off of Twitter. Where are all the Boise State sleuths? Because all I did, not over the weekend, but last week, is I was tweeting at people and I said, hey, by the way, bro, you were out here cursing at me on Twitter and now you're nowhere to be found. And that's my problem with the college football playoff. I don't like that we have a system that puts fans in a position where a team that has no business having a bye, and in my opinion, should not have gotten in. My opinion, I know they got in. My opinion is they shouldn't have gotten in based on who you didn't play and you lost the only team that matters. You don't have any way to say you should have been
Furthermore, there's no argument to be made that the ACC deserved 2 teams in the college football playoff.
Agreed 1,000%.
The Big 12, is the aggrieved party.
Yeah, can we now say that Colorado and BYU are better teams than SMU and Boise State?
I don't think there's any doubt that BYU should have been in the college football playoff. But games are won and lost on the field.
So
that's why I said we can't go back.
No, but
this is what I wanted to avoid, and you keep sucking me down the hole of death and pornography with these conversations.
But my point is,
hey Marty, look, the Mormons. They live right on and off the field. Put them in the college football playoff.
Yeah,
let's do it.
Yeah, my point is that ASU put the Big 12 in a position to go to the SEC and say, hey, we're capable of beating you. We are. Yeah, we lost by 1 possession.
I mean, we didn't beat you, but we're capable.
Yeah, if that's the take you want to have, that's fine.
I don't.
The Big 12 is more than capable of beating the SEC.
I like the ASU story. If you can't get down with Cam Skattebo, I think you're probably broken in your soul.
We've never had a puke award. But no, this is in 26 years, we've never had to be able to do this. And with about 7 minutes left, the media voted Scat as the MVP. And so the offensive MVP of the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl. Scat, congratulations.
I mean, he is a Cam Skattebo. Oh, I'm sorry. Cam Skattebo.
Yeah.
My bad. Scat is.
Yeah. How does Scat not have a deal with Dodge already? Come on.
It's Ram, please.
Yeah.
I would love to understand if there's a more down home dude than Cam Skattebo. I mean, throwing the touchdown, running for the touchdown, receiving the touchdown.
I'm for real.
I mean, throwing up everywhere, asking
Yelling
for an
at
IV.
his teammates.
I'm done with this. Okay. Like that kid is what's right with college football.
Yeah.
But let's not go too far. Are they capable of beating Texas? I would say they're not. Because Texas had to miss 2 field goals, had to have terrible play calling, and Quinn Ewers throw a terrible pass. And granted, that gave Scat the opportunity to do Scat-like things. I should really stop saying that. It gave Cam Skattebo the opportunity to do what he did. But at the end of the day, Texas dominated you in overtime. And dominant, frankly, to get to overtime, that throw on 4th and 13 should never happen. Are you capable of beating Texas? I don't think you are. Not right now.